Hi, I'm Terry Murphy, Senior Editor for Realty Times Women in Business, Women in Real Estate, and In the Men's Room with Murph. And we have an incredible overachiever in the men's room today. He's also highly patriotic, and we're going to find out why. His name is America Foy. Can I say overachiever? I mean, three licenses in California. The rest of us are struggling to keep one. Broker, mortgage, general contractor, three languages. He had to pick a hard one like Mandarin. Okay, just it's been licensed for just under 25 years, so good for you. Uh, and so much consulting both on municipalities and in MLS. Welcome, America.
Thank you, Terry. I'm so happy to be here. Yeah,
Well,
grateful.
you have so much. We're going to have the series of America, but people are going to think it's it's the 4th of July. But having very patriotic and grateful parents, you're here, and like many of us.
Yeah.
And you're right now you're with the Grub Company and a chief real estate and development officer for Wherever Cogent, which is a consulting company. So
Yeah.
you've been in all phases of all things real estate, whether it's municipal, community,
Mhm.
residential, contracting, especially in California. Wow, that had to be good.
I really feel like for real estate especially, I want to be able to serve my clients, and a lot of my clients over the years have been either house flippers or contractors or investors, especially the foreign nationals have been investors here in the United States, and a lot of times um, I would see them not have as good opportunity or the same type of opportunities because either agents or construction companies or the wrong types of loans were they felt like they were being taken advantage. Basically, I felt like people were being taken advantage of, and
Exactly.
I wanted to be able to explain what was going on and be able to offer options or some a different perspective than what they were getting from their general contractors especially, but also be able to explain, there was a point in time when only hard money loans were available for foreign nationals, or the types of loans they could offer during the 2008 crisis. A lot of the money that came in for construction was through the EB-5 visa program. And so to be able to explain to them what exactly was going on with that program, and EB-5 is just encapsulated. EB-5 is a foreign national visa program where, say, most of my clients were Chinese. They would bring X number of dollars to the United States, $1 million. That $1 million would provide 10 full-time jobs for American citizens for X number of years. If they managed to keep that in compliance, the investors would receive a green card uh, for the United States, and it was their way into to citizenship. And for a lot of my clients that were overseas, it was because it's because it's China, you know, they were worried about their money. And this was a place for them to be able to put money and potentially become American citizens. And
This is so
a lot of them were taken advantage of. And so I really was one of the reasons why I became involved in that, in the EB-5 visa program.
well. I mean, you have lots of involvement. Community School for Creative Education. Obviously, you're a contributing editor to Realty Times, which is we've so enjoyed your columns, and as well as Inman, what we all know about that too. But so let's talk about the changes in how people consume information and how MLS multiple listing information has changed.
Yeah.
Uh, you said the war for the right to monetize our agents and brokers' data from our local MLS
Yes.
boards is not happening during Sunday open houses. Do you remember that?
I do. And that's the thing. The MLS originally, the history of the MLS goes back into the 1880s, and and it's also codified here in California. One of the civil codes, is about us brokers sharing information with other brokers. And you'll have to go back. I think it's 1068, but you'll have to go back in and kind of check that out. But the history of the MLS is it was better for us and for our clients to cooperate than to double pop stuff or sell stuff in house all of the time. And as we carried on, what happens, what happened was um, the ability to present our information, brokers' information, to other brokers, encouraged a free market competition. It encouraged that, which is ultimately better for both our buyers and sellers, and ultimately better for the government. Because when the prices go up, taxes go up, schools get better, all kinds of stuff happens there. So it's been interesting to see this recent kind of it's not even, I want to say, I want to say it's an assault on the MLS, really is what I want to say. Zillow and Zillow, starting with Zillow, Zillow managed to be able to take our information, brokers' information that we provide. We go out there, agents and brokers, we go out there and break our backs to get listings. We spend a lot of money on marketing. We spend a lot of money on advertising. We spend a lot of money on these things. And so what happened was uh, Zillow, let's start with Zillow. Zillow came in and decided, they were going to take our data and then monetize it, sell it back to us. And what they started to do was curate the MLS to point it to, I mean, so let's just say I had any agent knows this already. If you have a listing and it goes on to Zillow, Zillow sells it to somebody for a considerable amount of money. They make $2.2 billion a year in monetizing our information. But the thing about that is they curate that information. So Zillow shows us things where, it gets more clicks. So the agents will spend money to get that lead. Right? So they monetize our own data against us. And happily, I mean, I've been one of those agents when I was newer, where I would spend, upwards, I would spend thousands of dollars a month
Oh, yeah.
buying seller leads for, a percentage of a zip code. But that's what I need to do at the time. And those leads were good at the time. Things have changed. As Then here comes Redfin, right? And so Redfin curates and monetizes it a different way.
Yeah.
Redfin is a brokerage, and that brokerage, they're making you click so they can have their agents come in and represent you for their brokerage. So it has nothing to do with the agents and our data. It's how the big kind of companies curate our data to benefit themselves. And we're happily giving them our email addresses and our money. But ultimately, that's our data, and it's been taken from us. And this whole thing with Compass now is just extraordinary.
Well, yeah, it changes while you inhale. And I will tell you that having coached many successful agents is that the follow-up for those leads is what either doesn't pay or pays. And we all know that it's a business, it's an entrepreneurial business. So there's different holes in that, process. But the MLS and clear cooperation has changed.
Yes.
And,
Well, I beg to differ there. The MLS and Clear Cooperation has stayed the same basically, which is we want to, if we have a listing and we turn around and start to market it to other people, we have to have it on the MLS within 24 hours per the new NAR settlement. And you're right, it has changed as far as our ability the NAR's ability to enforce it.
well, and the expansion of where the information is everywhere, which
Oh
has
yeah, yeah,
changed
yeah.
too.
I mean so I think, if I look at like, so it's all over the place, but it's all curated. It's homes.com spent $1 billion, spent $1 billion and failed to get a share of the curated MLS data. And that's why did CoStar, who owns homes.com, why did they invest $1 billion and fail in a year for that data? It's because it's really worth something, right? It's worth a huge amount of money. Our data, our work as agents and brokers and brokerages, and the MLS and our boards, our work is worth a lot, right? Our data is worth a huge amount of money. And so that's why we're seeing this challenge to clear cooperation, all of these things that are going on now with Redfin and Zillow and their assault against the Northwestern MLS, this huge battle that's going on there. It's really it's interesting, and your point about it changing as you breathe is is exactly correct. You know,
That's why that's why we have to have you back. Well, here's the thing. We know that many MLSs are offering public consumer listing portals. Now, do you think this will be a solution, or how do you think
I
that's
hope so. I really hope so. You know, the thing about the MLSs, so I belong to Bridge. So one of the MLSs I belong to is Bridge MLS here in the East Bay. And I was part of the San Francisco Association of Realtors for a long time as well. San Francisco Association of Realtors has always provided public access to their MLS data, which is not curated. It always provides that. Um, and now Bridge MLS here has just recently began providing their own MLS portal, a public MLS portal. Prior to, I guess, maybe a month ago, if you were looking for MLS, they would just link you to realtor.com to look, which of course was less curated, but also still curated. Um, and so I really believe that the MLSs have an opportunity to really fill the void. I don't think, like I say, I don't think our consumers know that their data is curated.
oh,
Uh,
right.
yeah, I don't think they know that, which has been one of the things I'm really trying to put out there for people. I really believe that our consumers should have the option to know that there are different things available. You know, one of the things I try to tell my clients because we're forced to use Redfin, we're forced to use Zillow. I mean, that's how they do it, is to look for things that have been on the market longer than 20 days. Why? Because those are things aren't featured, right? Those are things aren't featured. Those are where your deals are going to be. So there's that. But I think it's very important that consumers know that they have the option. And I think I'm really thinking that Realty Times is starting to feature boards portals, which I think is really important that's a place for
Oh, yeah. And for no cost. I
no,
mean,
yeah, that's
I mean,
exactly
if I was a publicly facing board, I'd be like, why not? Because there's no gotcha here. And it cuts the Zillow people out of the picture
right.
so that it stays with the professionals. I mean, I never thought that was fair. I mean, I know what it takes to list properties. I've listed them for years.
Yeah.
Uh, so, well, obviously Realty Times agrees with you. Do you
Yeah.
think, what do you think of their effort then to direct that kind of consumer traffic to these portals? Do you think it's going to be um, more trustworthy, more direct? What do you think?
I think that is exactly what. So in a perfect world, right? In a perfect world, this is what would happen. That the consumer would be directed to our MLSs, to where they're not seeing things that are curated. They're not seeing and not knowing about it. They're not seeing things that are, you know, forcing them to choose something without knowing all the information. I mean, that's really
Yeah.
so. I think that hopefully this Realty Times. I think it's actually the possibly. It's not possibly. It's a really good idea. I'm 100% behind it. That is, I think it's a great idea. My one thing about it is that I really wish people knew about it more. I don't think that
Yeah.
enough. I don't think there's enough whatchamacallit,
Marketing, messaging,
messaging. I
opportunity.
don't think there's
Yeah.
enough like people know about it enough. It's one of the things I
Well,
really do write about a lot, not only for Realty Times, which not only for Realty Times. I also write about it. I write about it for Inman as well, but they're very, Inman is really generating, they really generate inside stuff for Inman, and so it's a click-based thing, and
well,
it's not consumer facing. So, but it's one of the
yeah.
things I really do talk about or write about is how consumers are being forced into, they don't know everything that they could know. They're not getting a full.
Well, it's not like it's it's the kind of thing that when it has your attention, it has your attention. And so I'm saying, what I'm hearing from you, though, that the consumer could benefit from viewing these
Oh,
listings on
absolutely.
MLS Consumer Portal, which is why we do all this work, because that's why MLSs are so wonderful to begin with, because it gave us the highest opportunity for sellers and buyers to make the right decisions.
Right.
So, do you think that some of that MLS control will go back? Uh,
I hope so. I mean, that's really the thing is the MLSs have missed a step. Um, they missed a step. Our MLSs were never out there to monetize our data. Our MLSs were out there to provide information. You know what I mean? And
yes,
so I think a lot of consumers have gotten kind of, they don't know. Like I say, the biggest issue here, and I'm hoping that Realty Times will be able to, direct this message out to consumers a little better than it has been, is that consumers are not getting all of the data. They're not being able to make informed decisions about
there
real
you
estate.
go.
They're not being able to make informed decisions about real estate because they don't know what's going on. They're being pushed to agents that are not the listing agent. They're being pushed to agents that have no idea what's going on in that market. They're being pushed to
Very
agents
smart.
that
Yeah.
they're being pushed to agents that are paying for clicks. They're paying for that information.
And
So, it's
well, think about it. When you're the listing agent, and I'm careful because I mean I'm a licensed agent. I've been forever. I know that property, but better than that, I know the whole 4x4 demographic. I know the kinds of things that boots on the ground can tell you that just going through a virtual tour cannot, especially with AI and all of the placements and whatever that is happening.
Mhm.
Then go into like rural, and then you go into like gated communities.
Mhm.
Getting the right MLS information, or the more accurate, I should say right, is obviously going to help. If we can get the distribution of that on
Mhm.
consumer portals, then they feel better informed, and the agents that know about it can really help them.
Right.
So if I was a new agent, what would you tell me?
For a new agent, as far as like listing properties, well,
Yeah.
I would tell you that it's difficult. This is a difficult business. To go out there and work as hard. This is your job now. But if you're coming to me and asking me, how am I going to get business, right? How am I going to get business? I would direct you against, I would direct you against buying Zillow leads. I would do that for
Oh,
you.
oh,
I would direct you against buying Zillow leads. They're not worth you. Maybe, if you're looking at spending, you're coming out of pocket X number of dollars a month, will this pay off in 6 months? You can't afford that right now. You know,
that's such good, that I hear that all the time. Oh, I need leads. I'm saying, no, you don't. Number one, the Zillow leads but they're out there. They're like, they're everywhere. They're ubiquitous. And what we actually did, we've got a group that does some really big study on that. And we saw one group stop buying Zillow leads. And you get to do whatever you want and concentrate on their sphere of influence, which was very specific with very actionable ideas. And they tripled the amount of income and cut like down to a tenth of what they were spending. Well, look, you and I both know it. You just said it: energy, attention. Uh, it's a running a business. Uh, Running a business, which takes a lot of energy and time. So when you know your profitability, your profit and loss, what cost per lead, but the conversion per lead is going to be really important. And so that's why I think I agree with you on that one. And yeah, it looks easy. You put up a sign, buy a box of cookies, hope it sells,
if
but
you're
and
lucky
try
enough
not
to
to.
get if you're lucky enough to get the listing, the thing now with, the NAR has just really changed up how buyers and seller compensation works. And so,
Right.
what was guaranteed for buyer's agent before is no longer guaranteed. And so really for buyer's agents now, especially, you really have to be prepared to come into this business. Otherwise, you're just going to pay to get licensed and then sit around and not make any money for about a year. And if you're not able to, weather that, then,
Oh yeah. You need a
different.
good 6 or 9 months, but you got to have a business plan. You got to have a strat plan. There's so much you need to make this work. But so obviously your advice to agents is, if you're going to buy a lead, then know that from
It
six
could
months
be
to
if it ever comes to fruition, it could be, 6 to 8 months before anything ever happens.
or 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. There really is real estate really is a game of attrition, and that's one of the things I tell people a lot is, real estate's a game of attrition. This is your job now. I actually work at this company, the Grub Company, because a woman, I'm going to see her name out here, Annie and Tunney, Annie and Tunney, um, was a very successful agent. I mean, very, very successful agent. And she's always been kind of like my quiet mentor. And and she was because of this. I went to one of her open houses in Piedmont, California, which is a very affluent enclave here in the middle of Oakland. And and she was very nice to me. Um, and I said, how did you get to be so successful in this area? This area is it's like being in high school. It's a clique. And how did you get so successful here? And she said, real estate, she said, sweetie, or whatever she called me, something nice. She said, real estate is a game of attrition, right? I've been here for 20 years. And when I first came here, I told another agent where she works at the Grub Company now. I told another agent, I'm going to be the biggest listing agent in Piedmont. And the woman said, okay, sweetie, right? But she
Yeah.
outlasted her. And now she's the
Wow.
biggest listing, and she has been for quite some time, the biggest listing agent in Piedmont, California, which is I mean, really, she alone, she does $90+ million a year alone. And so, and so she's always been my quiet mentor, the person I would aspire to. And the reason why I came back to this company in particular was so I could work in this level of support that they provide here.
You know, uh, Having a mentor, especially, I mean, I have a woman that I mentored, and she's just been fabulous, and she's such a contribution to the professionalism of our industry that I feel like a mom, but I'm not. So, if we can get that information from MLS back to the consumer, get back control of it, uh, everybody wins. And so, in closing, uh, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We just have to kind of roll back in. Tell us in closing, is there a basic that you would give an agent besides don't buy solo leads? Don't buy leads. Work the people that know, love, and trust you.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. If for agents really, if you have a niche, right? Niches are what feed you throughout the lean periods. And niche is something that well, a niche is something like veterans, or a niche is something like first-time home buyers. Those are niche buyers, and not a lot of people who are have around for a long time want to work with those buyers because it's difficult. They're hard to work with. Mine
Yeah.
much more nationals. So try to get that. I really do want to touch back on because my thing about the internet and the MLS. I'm really interested in this at this point. There's a lot going on with it, and I really want to reiterate that I think the best option for consumers is to have access to uncurated information directly from their MLS. And I feel like realtytimes.com is doing what I hoped I would have been able to do on a bigger scale, like providing that information for
Yeah.
consumers.
Well, I've worked with Realty Times. I know they're offering this free feed.
Mhm.
It's free. There's no gotchas, uh, and so many other good tools because they've been in the business. They've been around for a long time, which tells us that there is a need for us to pull back uh, our information so that we can better serve the consumer. People like you that understand basically all the facets. I made a little fun of you being an overachiever, but Spanish and Mandarin, let alone, what was the other one?
English.
Eng- yeah,
Kind of my three languages. I can kind
yeah.
of speak three languages.
I can kind of, most of us just have trouble with one, which is so endearing because I wrote with a mortgage program to work with agents for compliance. Uh, so I got into that, and then I found out that there was this bias for people that had immigrated or whatever wanted to buy property because language is it's an issue. I mean, every issue, and you had managed that, and you do that so well with these foreign nationals on transactions that are not just like, oh, I want to buy a home in California, because there's strategic, there's regulatory interest, there's sophistication on the execution of that whole transaction. I mean, that's an art on its own. So bless your heart, as we'd say in the South.
I think just one more thing about that. Working with, one of the other things I've managed to be able, I feel lucky to be able to do, is that I'm able to work with different cultures easily. And if there's a huge, everybody's the same. Here in the United States, everybody gets to be the same person. And so if we're able to, my advice to agents is, if you are able to be, ask a question, right? Ask a question. I worked with pregnant buyers, a lot of pregnant buyers, because I understood what they were looking for. They weren't just looking for, X. They were looking for, they want to make sure there's no mold in the place. I worked with a lot of Orthodox Jews, because to keep a kitchen kosher, you either have to have two sinks or two dishwashers. And so being able to not show, people that are Orthodox Jews, something that absolutely does not fit kosher, or absolutely does not fit, Shabbat. Those are important things. And it's just simple questions. If agents are just a tiny bit interested in their clients and their clients' culture, it's so welcome for people that are here and that are new. It's so welcome, because it really makes a difference.
No, it doesn't just make a difference. It is so gracious. And if you're out there and you have a buyer like that, or you want some counseling or consulting, you have to call America, because or refer, because at the end of the day, unless you really hunker down and have experience and have the ability for the translation. I remember I had a company come in from a couple come in from Germany. He was American, but he'd married a German woman, and they had children. And he came back. Well, and I thought I was all this cool stuff about selling, and we were trying to talk about the economics, the difference between costs for food.
Mm-hmm.
And oh yeah, I said, cereal, the prices of cereal just off the wall. And of course, she looked at me and went, off what wall? Because it was a colloquialism that they didn't know. Korean family that had literally had money in bags. I mean, dear God, let's get on the bus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
so there's a specialization that
I mean, really, that is a big deal.
Yeah, I know. So we have to call you. So America, if somebody wanted you to write for them or speak for them or consult for, how would they reach you?
You can reach me at america@grubco.com, probably the best way there. You can also contact me through Realty Times, or any one of the outlets that I work for. My information is out there and available. Or you can just Google me, America Foy.
Excuse me. How many America Foy, F as in Frank, OY, do you know? Okay. So yes, just Google him, and you're going to get some great information. I know we're going to have you back, because your insights are just phenomenally, they're so valuable, because there's a way that you've already set yourself up to have that filter to help those people that need your help. I bought my first house on a river. No one told me that the house every April was in the river. I bought it without heat. It was in Wisconsin. I mean, so guess what? People need our help, and we need you back. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm Terry Murphy for Realty Times News TV. For In the Men's Room with America Foy. He's going to be back. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Terry. Really appreciate it. It was an honor for me. Thank you.